you're watching the video 1 of Geometry Chapter 2 review. So go ahead and pause it and make your paper look like this paper. Now, there's 3 skills on this video, video 1, and there'll be more skills on the next. So I'm just going to call it 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. The first skill falls under the name definition of midpoint. So we'll do that one. Then we have segment addition. Ooh, and we could also squish in there bisector, because they basically mean the same thing. So those 2 problems are the same. And then we have segment addition, and then angle addition. And these are postulates, so I'll stick postulate. So after you watch the video, you may come back and actually put some check marks of where you stand on that. And that helps me know what I should review. All right, so let's get started. I'm gonna just go straight into section 2.1. Definition of midpoint. So now imagine they give you a problem, and in the problem it says line segment JL has midpoint K. Now, that tells us a lot. In fact, it tells us a whole picture. We should be picturing exactly what this looks like. Also imagine they tell us JK is 5x minus 4. KL is 2x plus 8. And that's all they tell us. So we might scratch our head a little bit, but we gotta draw a picture of what the question asks. So when I think about this, I go, okay, I got a line segment. I did that part. And the line segment is JL. So that part's done. And the middle is K. So you put it somewhere in the middle. Now this word would tell me that either this is equal to this, or the 2 halves make the whole thing. So let's just label what they actually gave me here. So it looks like they've given me JK right here. That's this part, right? 5x minus 4. And KL, that part, see that part? 2x plus 8. Now I don't know the whole thing. I mean, I kind of do. It's like 7x plus 4, but that still doesn't tell me what x is. So imagine if this problem was on the test, they ask what's x, what's JK, what's KL, and maybe they might ask JL. So you want to prepare for any of those possible choices. Okay, so midpoint means middle, which means the right side has to equal the left. So let's go ahead and set that up. We know JK has to equal KL because that's the definition of midpoint. So if you get a proof question, you'd write this there, but somebody else would do all the work. Now that we know how to set up the problem, we just set them equal to each other and work our way through the problem. You can pause this, go a little more slowly if you want. So I'm getting close to the end here. I divide 3 on both sides, and I get x is 4. Perfect. Okay, so that does part of it, but now I'm going to plug everything back in. So I'm basically solved the mystery of the x. Plug this back in. 5 times 4. So we know all the way up here, I'm just going to copy this down, give me a little bit more room. 5 times x minus 4. Well, I now know x is the number 4. So that'd be 20 minus 4, I get 16. Okay. Now here, I know KL is 2x plus 8, and I actually know x is now 4. So that gives me 2 times 4, which is 8, plus another 8 makes 16. Oh, okay, so that makes sense. That is cut in half. The left and the right are equal, so that makes sense with midpoint, and the whole thing would be 32. The whole thing would be 32. Fabulous. Okay, I'm going to give you one more midpoint problem. What if they asked it a different way? So this is 2.1 example number 2. Okay, well, what if they gave you same thing, same definition. JL is line segment. K bisects. So it sounds exactly alike, but they say K bisects the line segment. What they're describing is in effect the same thing. So I draw JL. JL is the line segment. K bisects it. And bisect just means cut in half. So the same thing holds true, that JK has to equal KL, because that's what bisect or midpoint means. Now the problem here, though, is imagine that the problem sets up by saying JK is 2x plus 6 and JL is 24. So you go back to your picture and you start labeling these things. So JK is 2x plus 6 and JL, wait a minute, it's different than the last one. JL is the whole thing is 24. So in a way, I know that that's 12 and that's 12. And so there's a couple ways. I can't put the right is equal to the left because they're the same thing and that's not going to help me get my answer. So in a way, if you know they're both equal, if JK is equal to that, you can actually copy that down on KL as well because we know they have to be equal to each other. Now I can set this up like segment addition. So I have the first segment plus the second should equal the whole thing. The first segment plus the second segment should equal the whole segment. Now we know the whole segment is 24. Now we have an equation and we can solve for x. We can solve for JK like we did last time. We can solve for KL and JL. Well, we can solve for that, but they actually told us the whole segment is 24. So we already know that part. Now let's do the algebra. When we combine, copy down, subtract 12 on both sides, divide by 4 on both sides. Okay, x is 3. Not done, but I'm getting there. Now when x is 3, I can plug this back in. So if JK was 2 times 3 plus 6, that's 6 plus 6 makes 12. And I think I thought that that was going to be 12. And again, if I plug that in again here, notice I get 12 as well. And that does make sense. So 12 would be in the middle of 24, and that makes sense for bisect. Awesome. Now let's do segment addition. So a segment, I'm going to call this skill 2.2, segment addition. I kind of already did it, didn't I? I'm adding together segments. So imagine they give you a segment A, B, C. And it doesn't really look like it's in the middle, and that's okay. Let's imagine they give us a picture and they label AB 2x plus 8 and they label BC 9x minus 14. We're loving it. Now if they ask solve for x, solve for AB, solve for BC, and solve for the whole thing. We should be able to do that if they tell us what the whole thing is. So a lot of times in the question they'll say, please use segment addition knowing that AC is, let's say they told us AC was 38. Okay, so all this information's given. You say to yourself, aha, I know that's 38. I can use this information to solve the rest of it. So I notice that AB is that part and BC is this part. And the whole thing I actually know has to be 38. So this is segment addition again. AB plus BC, I'm adding segments to get the whole segment, AC. So AC we know is 38, and then these we just go by the labels. and then we do our algebra. So here I get 11x minus 6 is 38. I get 11x equals 44. So divide by 11 on both sides. I get x is 4. Yeah, okay, awesome. Now I'm gonna plug this back in just to double check my work. So I was told from the picture that AB was 2x plus 8. And so I'm gonna plug that in. 2 times 4 plus 8. So 8 plus 8 is 16. Awesome. Now I also know BC, the gray segment, is 9x minus 14. So I take that, 9 times 4 minus 14. I get 36 minus 14. That would equal to 22. So now as I look at this, I say to myself, okay, make sure you can see that there. I say to myself, I want to make sure I added the segments together. So those two numbers should add up to 38. You got it. Check out the next video for the rest of the lesson. Thanks for joining us.